you're not supposed to be here. Okay, you're all stuck now. I'm Timothy Totten. I am the license holder and co-organizer of TEDxEustis. And I would like to introduce my co-organizer, Byron. Byron, there you are.
I'm here.
Thank you. And our operations manager, who is the third part of TEDxEustis, is Robin Richter. Robin. She's also my mother, so if I happen to call out mom during this, that's who I'm calling out. It's not nepotism. It's actually more like I make my family help me with stuff. And so she gets roped into stuff. And then she is as integral and as engaged at TEDx as anyone. So she's here because she wants to be now. I gave her a choice at one point when we first started. Do you really want to do this? You can get out. And she said, no, I'm all aboard. In fact, the excitement is I'll tell you about what she's doing to increase her TED experience really soon. We've got a couple of amazing other people. We have curators from this year, last year, and coming up, we have Pete Kenjosian. Hey, Pete. And Sabrina Sterling, who's also been a speaker for us a couple of years ago. Amazing parts of our TEDx family. I know we have some coaches here. Det is here. Hey, Det.
Hey.
Thanks for being here, one of our coaches. And we have a previous speaker, Cece. Hey, Cece. And has anyone else been a coach for us and I just have forgotten it?
I think Eileen. I know we can't.
Oh, Eileen is on.
there, yeah.
She can't read to us from the abyss, but
Oh, I see that. So we do have Eileen who's on. Lee Tran is on as well. There you are, Lee. She's a previous speaker of ours as well. Hey, Lee. Nice to see you.
And Linda Clark.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. And Linda is on.
Linda was a previous coach.
Yeah, see? So we've got a huge group of people on. Thank you so much for joining us. We are recording this, so we'll put it back out for people. This is sort of our kickoff for TEDxEustis 2024. We got our license just a week or two ago, after a bit of a long delay. And so I'm excited to talk to you about the things that I've chatted with TEDx Global in New York City, headquarters, whatever we want to call them, and some of the ways that we're going to engage you to help us with our next event and also to help us find speakers. So I'm going to be talking about some of the adjustments that New York has asked us to do to our curation process. And this is going to be really valuable to us because it means we're going to be casting a wider net for our speakers and performers who will be on our stage. Now, if you haven't been to our TEDxEustis event, one of the things that we have done the last couple of years is really bring our performers into the fold as quasi-speaker performers, like a hybrid, so that not only do they perform something, but then they tell us about it and we get them to give a talk with their performance. The first couple of years, will be our 7th year. Our first couple of years, we had performers who just performed and they were off the stage. But we realized that when we had James Thomas Jr. Playing the didgeridoo, he wanted to explain it, what the instrument meant. And it was just such a better talk because he actually gave us some historical perspective, the concepts of how he plays the didgeridoo as a non-native Australian native and how that works. He's not Aboriginal, but he pays homage to the instrument and those people who originated it. And so we've been making sure that happens with all of our performers since then. So I do want to bring out, show you a couple things, and I'm going to share my screen because I really want to highlight one of the things that TEDx has talked to me about specifically. I was been cautioned that we should not be using an application. It's maybe semantics, but the idea that people apply to be a TEDx speaker and then they're chosen from an application is something that TEDx in New York is trying to get away from, because people then try to sell the secret formula that they know how to get you a TEDx talk and can give you that formula, and they're working very hard against that. So they want us as a team to do a more thorough job of curating talks by engaging our team to help us find people and then bring those in either through a submission form, which is not the same as an application form, which is why we don't have an application deadline any longer. And the submission form is a lot simpler now than it used to be. The other part of it is we have great curators. We also have really great people who are part of the TEDxEustis team who may find someone who would be a great TEDx speaker, But unless that they say, well, you should go apply. We want to encourage all of our people to help us find those people who would be great speakers. It also helps us to pair up coaches a little better, because let's say Det has a great person in mind who might be a really great TEDx speaker. He really believes in this person. He helps them to submit. He walks through that with us. He might be the right person to coach them. It's going to be a lot easier for us to connect those coaches and speakers. I want to bring up a page. This is our submission form that we created. I'm hoping everyone can see on their screen. Somebody shake their head as long as you can see a submission form on your screen. Perfect. So a couple things that are super important in my mind for us to make sure people understand when they apply. And you'll notice at the top here, we have 56 responses already, which is pretty great already. It's only been out for a couple of weeks. We really want people, and here's the point right here, they need to be specific. If you meet someone and you think they have a really great idea, they need to be specific with their idea. The number of applications we get that say things like, good leaders need to be responsive to their employees. That is as nebulous as you can possibly get. There's not an idea in there. That's a keynote for a business conference maybe, but it's not really an idea that's specific. We want to hear, what do they mean? So, and I'll show you in a little bit some good examples recently on TEDx's YouTube page. We also want people to tell us, tout their credentials, tell us why they are the person who can give this talk. The number of people who list as their occupation life coach or business coach and share no credentials other than the fact that they've decided to charge people to tell them how to live their life. They have zero other credentials to prove why they actually are the person that can give the talk. It's not helpful. And we tend to not pick those people. And then there's just some easy questions for them to answer. Really, here are the most important ones. These three. What's the title of your talk? In one short sentence, tell us your idea we're spreading, and provide a detailed description. This is not just a longer version of the talk title. We actually want you to lay out a beginning, middle, and an end of what you want your talk to be. So if anything, we can look at it and imagine them on our stage. The other thing I want to share is the TEDx YouTube page. TEDx amazingly has more views on TEDx than TED Talks. So TED Talks are around 3 billion. TEDx Talks are over 7 billion views now. This is where most of the people see ideas, are TEDx Talks. I want to specifically, if you go to their channel on YouTube, this is what you would see. Across the top, you can see that you have a choice for home, a choice just for video, shorts. You can look at all this stuff. But here's interesting. This one's called Editor's Picks. These are the talks over the last couple of weeks that the editors at TEDx have thought are extremely useful or valuable. So if we want to know what they are leaning toward and liking right now, let's look at the editor's picks. Someone's, if you're not speaking right now, if you don't mind muting your, I'm getting just some feedback from someone. So if you look at the editor's picks here, how stress can affect your memory, how companies can make the internet a safer place, 3 ways to retain your Gen Z employee, could cannabis help you sleep, what do you secretly desire? Somebody's still, I'm just going to start muting people. So sorry, y'all, you're going to get muted. Why sharks are not the enemy. This is important. When you're helping somebody either submit for a TEDx talk, have them look at these titles so they can understand how TEDx titles should be written. Because when someone gives me, let's say, super-powered skincare, I don't know what that means. But if they write skincare is healthcare, not just a luxury, we have an idea what that means. If someone says, if they're giving a rather nebulous idea, and they need to be specific. These are all how, why, can, what, could, have we found a new force of nature? These are all specific. So that's important to look. This is a secret weapon that we can use to figure out what TEDx is liking right now and what is working for them. You can do the same by looking at TED.com, the actual TED YouTube page, and it'll show you something similar. I'm going to put a copy, I'm going to make a copy of this link and put it in the chat so everyone will have it. I think it'll help everyone to do that. Also, I'm going to do that in just a moment here, so I can do that. So that's the YouTube channel I'm sending in the chat if anybody wants it. I'm also going to show you the last part I think is valuable, and that's going to be, if I can get back to it, from TED.com themselves, which shows what is a TED Talk. I'm going to also copy and paste this for everybody so you'll all get it. So before you start the search for speakers for your event, it's important to know exactly what a TEDx Talk is. Here's what's important. They're under 18 minutes. And that's because a TEDx Talk, in my mind, is an appetizer. It's not the whole meal. So we have had in the past speakers who wanted to give 5 TED Talks in one, and they had so many ideas they had to shove in, and it was too much. We don't need people to hear everything. We need to give them an appetizer so that they continue the conversation afterwards, right? It says some of our greatest TED Talks have been as short as 5 minutes long. One of my favorites is less than 5 minutes. It's the 10 photos you should take, the 10 photos that changed this man's life. He's a professional photographer, and none of them are pictures he took. They're pictures that other people took of him holding his child. Those were the 10 most important pictures in his life. And he talks about why it was important for him to make those memories with his child. Great TED Talk. It also asks here, what's a great, well-formed idea? This is super important so that when someone tells you that leaders should be responsive to changes in the work environment, is that new for any of us? So it needs to be something that's new and surprising, an idea or an invention that your audience has never heard about, or a great basic idea with a compelling new argument that challenges beliefs and perspectives. What's really important here, and I see this being missed because we don't do a good enough job of explaining it to people, is a really good TEDx talk requires defending. If I tell you that we should go to the hardest, most violent criminals in our criminal justice system in prison who are dying in prison, and we should be compassionate and give them hospice care because it's the right thing to do, you might not agree with me because you might think a person who's murdered somebody should suffer. But when Corey Novak spoke on our stage in 2021 and made the argument that teaching prisoners to provide palliative care to other prisoners actually reduced their recidivism rate and was cheaper than traditional healthcare, it not only showed that we could help revitalize people who are in prison for lesser crimes, but that we could also do it as a tax savings to the taxpayer. That's an idea that requires defending. And it's valuable to us to be looking for those type of ideas. But just saying life gets better isn't an idea that requires defending. We've heard that a million times. So without a hook, it's not going to work. If you were to say you should be nicer to your friends or the people who were in your neighborhood, we might say, well, okay, what's the hook? Well, Tim Dattellis showed us with that by asking the question, are you a good neighbor? Are you actually a proactive good neighbor? Have you taken the steps to be a good neighbor? And that was valuable to our stage because it was something that we wouldn't all think about doing in the way today's society is structured. So that's a super valuable thing. And I'm going to put the link for that in the discussion. Sabrina, would you mind for just a moment telling me what you look for when you're reading the submissions that we get and what really affects you when you hear that, when you read what someone's put? What's going to grab your attention?
Something that is timely and also impactful and stands out as not something that I see continuously. I look for a little bit of novelty, or if it's something that I've heard before, a new twist on it that makes us sort of think outside the box. Heard it a million times, it's not worth sharing or spreading. But if we can take something and if it's old and have a new twist, it might very well be who have either lived through it, researched it, and or have gained something personally as a result of whatever it is that they're sharing, not simply that they've read before.
I want to ask also, we want to talk a little bit about one of the other things that I think that we really want to engage as many of our TEDxEustis family members to do is that even if you're not participating as a coach in a specific year, or you've been a speaker, but you don't have time to be a coach or to even be a concierge or something, we still want to engage you to connect with people in our community, to let people know what's coming up, what your experience is like. So to that end, we're actually going to change up a few things this year. That's not for the speakers, but the things that happen in between. Byron, do you mind sharing what our thoughts are in terms of how to engage beyond just the talks on the stage?
Yes. Thank you. Those of you that have been to any of our events, we put a nice big break in between sessions 1 and 2. We have a nice long lunch so that you can engage, and we just keep expanding that each time. There are lots of places you can go and just listen to strings of speakers one after another and get some great ideas, and they put on great days. But something that in the TED world that we're just absolutely going to expand on is those interactions. Interactions to have speakers available during break time. We've had great success over the last couple of years, especially when we've been at the high school, when we have a lot of space to be able to spread out, to be able to have. One year we just had, a little survey. You put ping pong balls into a tube, expanding photo and other social media sharing ideas, and expanding all of that. And to the point, we pack a lot into each session. Sometimes there's 4 speakers, and entertainer, or half and half, entertainer, hybrid, half speaker. We're willing to sacrifice for the total day experience to even shorten the roster to maybe only have 10 people. So those break times can absolutely be used for discussion, meeting people, and really becoming a part of the day where we start at 8 and end at 3. You can have, quality interactions with anyone there without feeling rushed. We've had great feedback on those, and just expanding that interaction, time, space, and quality is something that's absolutely on the to-do list for next year.
And part of that too is that we are always looking for suggestions. So if you find something that has worked really well, or you have been to our event and say, what would have been better is if I could have done this or that, or there had been more time for something, I want you to feel encouraged to reach out to us and give us some of those suggestions. That'll be really helpful for us to make it a more well-rounded day for everyone. One of the things I really enjoyed at a event that I went to a couple of years ago was after each session. That was a multi-day event, but after each session, there was an area where the speakers were taken right afterwards, and they could then spend the next 30 to 45 minutes talking to people about their subject matter and having longer conversations. We will have to impart to our speakers that while they're super excited to have just gotten off the stage and they want to go celebrate with the friends and family that came to visit them, that maybe that's a time to be available to everyone, and then delay the big celebration until after that, because there are such good connections to make with people. And I think we've shorted our speakers of that ability. And then I know we're going to look at some ways to maybe still stay a little longer at the end of the day, because the final session speakers kind of get shorted that experience. They're on the stage taking pictures and then they're gone, and they don't quite get the same experience as the other speakers do. So we'll look into some of that as well. One of the other things I think, and I think Robin is going to talk about this. So Robin, if you're ready, we want to talk about people. I want you to talk about concierge people, but also about the ways that our rest of our family can help spread the word about TEDxEustis. You just have to click unmute. There you go.
There we go. Well, I continually look for concierge, and it can be anybody. It can be, a 15, 16-year-old kid that likes to do stuff like that. and be organized and helpful, or it can be a speaker from the previous year. It can be anybody that is interested in following our steps and putting on a really world-class event for, everybody, because we want everybody to have a world-class event. The speakers, the coaches, all of the attendees, all of the volunteers, because concierges, like everybody else, are volunteers. So that is the most awkward word. So we need help the day before. While you're rehearsing, we're putting things together, and that you're as in a speaker. And then the day of, to make sure everybody has what they need. So, and our day is like breakfast. We go in, we come out for a big old break, we go back in, and then we come out for lunch. Then we go back in, and then we end our day. So it's, keeping up with things, just keeping up with what needs to be done and making sure things go where they need to go, and that everybody has a great time. So that's what our day is like. And we want to make sure that that I do better at making sure that anybody we interact with knows what to expect on the day of, because a lot of times people really don't know anything other than they're going to an event, but they really don't know what the day looks like. So we want to make sure that they understand they're going to have this opportunity and this opportunity and this opportunity, so that they're not wondering what happens next, or looking at the program and saying, I don't know what that means. So I'm going to try to make sure that we do better at that, because we just haven't focused on that enough. And I think that would be important to help people have a better experience. So I'm looking for concierges. Anybody knows anybody, or if anybody wants to do it, it's not a hard job. It's just getting things done. Anything else, Tim?
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that. One of the things we want to make sure we do, and we are going to impart this to our speakers better in the future, is the idea that when you invite your friends to come hear you speak, they're not just coming to hear you speak. We've had people who go, okay, I'm just coming. I want to be able to walk in right before my friend talks and leave right afterwards. And I don't know why they're willing to pay $75 to sit for 15 minutes and then leave, but they are. We want to encourage them to realize there's a lot more happening. We're going to have a really great event that's a full day, and it's a way for them to interact. So we're going to do a better job of letting people know in advance what's coming for that. Exciting. Some of the best things I've seen and that we've started to incorporate, I saw at the TED Women Conference in 2021. And very excitingly, Robin is going to TED Women this year in October. And it was great. She actually was very proactive and went and got a TEDx scholarship to go to that event, which they have paid for her tuition to be at a TED Women event, which is usually about a $2,500 to $3,000 purchase. So that's really awesome, partly because we put on an event for so many years, and she was invited to come it was at a discounted rate, wasn't it? Yeah, it was at a discounted rate. So Byron and I have figured out how to pay for that. Her actual, I think it was like $1,000 or something like that, $1,500. So it's a discount, it's a 50% discount. We have gotten that covered. And Robin doesn't know I was going to tell you all this, but there's other costs involved, like her hotel for a week. So she's going to go learn a bunch of TEDx stuff. Several people have already been very gracious to reach out and offer to help offset some of the hotel costs. If that's something anyone's willing to do, yeah, I didn't tell her I was going to do that. If anyone else is willing to make any small donation for that will help offset, because she was looking to spend over $1,000 for her hotel and driving and other stuff. So it's not required. I asked that only because I know it will help her quite a lot if we do that. And she's going to bring back great info for us. So you can just reach out to me. You don't have to say anything to her, and I can keep that anonymous if you want, or I can tell her that you made a little donation. I do want to open us up in a moment to some questions. If anyone has questions about what we've talked about today. This sounds weird because it's like we're not really announcing anything today, but we are announcing that we're getting ready because we have our license. Our license right now is good for putting on an event in the next about 11 months. Our goal is to put it on either at the end of January or the first week or two in February. We're still nailing down dates with the high school and what also fits. So we'll be talking that over with the close team and getting those specifics. I do want to highlight a couple of awesome people that have joined us since we started, and then I'll open up for questions. So Dick Mills is here. Hey, Dick, give us a wave. He's in there somewhere. Well, he kind of got frozen. Dick is there and Dick was a great speaker of ours and has been a coach. I think he's been a concierge. I think he's done almost everything. I did point out Lee Tran already, but Lee's there with her book on the screen and everything pretty smartly. I like the marketing as a previous speaker of ours and I think a concierge as well. James Thomas Jr., our didgeridoo player. Hey, James Thomas, good to see you. Thank you that you're here. So what I want to do now is open it up to any questions that anyone have. And I see that Linda Clark has her hand up. She knows how to use Zoom. So Linda, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Tim. I'm going to ask my question and then I need to drop off.
Yeah.
You mentioned that with TED, they are doing the process of, I guess, kind of eliminating an application process. Does that mean that if we are desirous to apply, that we should not use the form that's currently on the site, or should we continue to use the form that's on the site?
Very good question. The form we put on the site is now a submission form, not an application form. And I know that sounds like just semantics, but the reality is that there are TEDx's that have an application like we did last year, where it has a deadline and they pick all their people from that group. And we have been told specifically that we should not be solely basing our curation on an application form. So in other words, I was told as much as that there are TEDx's in Asia that have an application form on their website and they just empty the data once a week. They don't even look at it. They use their application form as a way to weed out the people who are so eager that they send applications. That their goal is to go curate and find the people. I don't know that we could not really rely on that strategy alone, because we would have to have way more people to choose from, and we're in a rather small community. I like having a submission form which isn't based upon we're going to stop at a certain date and only pick people from those submissions. The submissions are meant for us to help weed out and find people. And in previous years, we've had 150 or more applications, and we've gone through them and found 10 to 15 people. And we have in recent years still curated people elsewhere. Sabrina, when she came on board last year as a curator, brought several people who applied, but they were cultivated through Sabrina's knowledge of meeting people. And she was able to make sure they submitted in a way that made the rest of us interested in them, and we chose them as a group. I brought Jana Banana on board last year, and we curated her. Although she still filled out a submission form or an application, she wasn't specifically, if that makes sense, like it wasn't just out of the blue. We kind of knew who she was and we had encouraged her to be part of the process. So there's that. James, why don't you go next? Just unmute yourself and ask your question. And then we'll go to Diane after that.
Hi, Tim. Just out of curiosity, I was on the site the other day, similar to the last person's question. How do you sign up now as a coach? Because it had a thing that said below, click here, but there's nothing there.
Well, Robin looks surprised by that because she handles the website. So maybe she'll figure something out for that. If you are interested in being a coach, we'd love for you to tell us in some way. It's going to be a decision between the organizers and the curators for how we assign coaches. And it's always an evolving process. So we also want to make sure that those people who are interested in being a coach, even if you don't get assigned to someone, it's just a matter of maybe there's not a speaker who fits for what you're going to, for your level of coaching or your specific type of coaching. I know that Pete and Sabrina have done tried to do a very thoughtful job of how they connect people and put them together. So thanks for being with us, Linda. Diane, why don't you go next?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Timothy. I too am interested in submitting, not applying, submitting a form. And my question is there a theme for this year's event already decided, or are you going to decide the theme based on who submits what, and how does that work?
So we're maybe a little different than other TEDx conferences
Okay.
because we don't pick a theme in advance. In fact, at one point we had an intern for the summer, and we sent that young man on a rabbit hole to find the last 300 to 400 themes for TEDx conferences around the United States and around the world. And they are the most nebulous words you've ever heard of, and they never seem to make sense. So we know, as well, nice as a theme is, we think we do a better job of not limiting ourselves on potential speakers. If we had a theme of just, building community, we might not be able to have somebody who gives a great talk on why handwriting is better than typing out the first draft of anything creative you do. Her talk's at almost 900,000 views from this year. Would we want to have not, we don't want to not take her talk. So we think it frees up our speakers, and maybe the reality is those who are submitting, we should make a better point that we don't pick a theme in advance. You don't need to choose, you don't need to make your talk fit a specific theme. The other problem is if I give it a specific theme, then everyone is going to submit the same idea, or at least one similar. So our ideas have been humanity reignited. We chose that right after in 2021, because we felt like we were sort of trying to reset things after the onset of COVID. We've had connecting. We've had, this last year was intersections, which worked out really well for a number of our talk, but it's still kind of nebulous. So no, we don't pick a theme in advance, and we don't want to hamper or hamstring ourselves from a really good idea that might out there and we don't get it. So no, this is the good point though. If you're wanting to submit an idea for any TEDx anywhere, recognize that there are 100 people right now typing a submission form about why they're the best life coach on the planet and can tell you 5 ways to do better at making choices in your life. Unless you have credentials to prove why that's a good talk, it's nebulous. It doesn't, I want a specific idea. What energizes me is an idea that makes me go, you mean to tell me that you were so worried about your own mental health that you started sending out random text messages to your friends, and it turned into an international company called Cope Notes, that you now send out hundreds of thousands of text messages at random times to get people to help break out of their mental mindset? That's our biggest talk ever by Johnny Crowder. That's fascinating to me. So be as specific as you can and tell people why you're the only one who can give that talk, right? So
Thank you.
Also, TEDx talk titles are not book titles. So get rid of the colons out of your talk title. I'm going to go to, let's see, Marcy has her hand up, and then we'll go to Det after that.
Thanks, Timothy. Quick question. So when I read the rules, it said that the submissions were needed by the 8th of August. Has that changed then?
Yeah, we've made that had not been changed. I literally copied last year's application form and had not made the change. I have made it since then because I realized that was inaccurate. So it is just an open submission form. It will be open for as long as we have TEDxEustis until we change it up. But we're not going to have a specific date that we drop that off. We will begin to make decisions, I would expect, by the end of August. Peter, does that make sense? You think it makes sense that we can start making those kind of choices? We typically make them a little earlier, but we're going to wait and keep collecting ideas and trying to develop some people that we already have in mind as well. So I would say if you are going to make a submission, that you do it sooner than later. I would say before the end of August, if you want to be considered for 2024.
But I mean, if you submitted, you don't have to do it again, correct? Or
You've already submitted?
Yeah.
Then you don't need to do it again. You may get an email from me or from one of the other organizers or curators asking you to elaborate.
Oh, okay.
You're also welcome, if you, after this conversation, if you'd like to submit again and make any changes, I will be glad to remove your original one. If you decide you'd rather be more specific or whatever else, it won't hurt you. You can just put in a message saying, please delete my other application.
Okay.
Submission. Sorry, I'm trying to get the words right.
That's
Yeah.
Great.
So hopefully maybe this has helped you figure out what might work to be more specific and more to bring your unique talk to our stage. We're really energized by that, by uniqueness, by somebody, like, here's a good example. If you say you want to give a talk called Think Outside the Box, And I go, well, that's been done 100 times. But you tell me that you're an acrobat who's going to put herself into a box to start her talk, then we put you on our stage in 2022. That was Tori, I can't think of her last name. So, you know, if you've got a sort of what sounds like a generic talk, make sure you tell us why you're the one who's best at giving it. Deb, why don't you go next? Yeah, I always get stuck on the microphone. There you go.
My question is, if we know of somebody that might give a great TEDx talk, what is the selling point what do they get out of it? What do most of the speakers say they get out of being a speaker?
I love that. And I think I'd like to ask our former speakers who are on here already. So Lee, can you give us a sort of a short answer to that question?
Absolutely. It opens so many doors. Once you are on the stage, you get invited to elaborate on your story, on the whatever that one idea. And that's the reason it led me to write my book, because of so many people want to hear more. And it gave me the courage to go even further. And it does definitely have credential, and be a TEDx speaker is a lot of time that people, that once in a lifetime, everybody want to be a TEDx speaker. So yeah, it's a privilege that we pick.
Cece, why don't you tell me in terms of how it makes that experience, you know, you've had this now, I think you're a 2-time speaker. You saw what our process was like. What did our process do for you other than putting out a TEDx talk? How we made, I mean, hopefully we made your life better and not worse. So tell us.
No, for me, being a speaker with TEDxEustis was amazing. It was, first of all, the town is beautiful. If you've never been to Eustis, you need to just drive up there. But like Lee said, it put me in a position where I'm now considered a thought leader in that, for that specific topic. And it was just a fantastic experience. And I recommend that everybody apply, just apply at least one time, you know. So yeah, I'm blumbling my words here. You'd never believe that I'm a 2-time speaker, but no, it's absolutely, like Lee said, it's a wonderful experience.
Sabrina, why don't you share with us, the process is not as easy as people sometimes think, because they think they're used to speaking, so they'll get up on the stage and give their standard talk. I know we had some fun when you and I gave you some feedback during one of your practices for your talk with us. How did that help you? And how did you feel in the moment at first?
Yeah,
Oh, you're really, we're losing you.
How about now? I'm wondering if the connection is this better?
So far, go ahead.
Okay. It's telling me my internet connection is unstable, so that may be part of the problem.
Would you like to just turn your camera off and maybe it will just send your audio?
Okay, let's do
then
that.
That might be, we need your audio more than your face.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, good deal. Yes, when you know, when you are, whenever you're used to being in front of a group and you have a certain amount of authority, it's very easy to think that you can go up on a stage, speak, and everything's going to go as you've planned it. And one of the things, working with my coach, she was a little uneasy with some of the things that I wanted to. She really didn't want to hurt my feelings, but I could tell something was off. So I said, just go ahead and tell me for charts. I see you get more about numbers than you do about your story. Can you hear me? You still can't hear me?
You're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. It seems like you get more excited about numbers than you do about your story. So she had me videotape myself, and it was amazing how came across. I looked like I was telling, I was engaging the audience.
Yeah, you're jumping in and out, Sabrina. So I think we should probably stop that. I want to, you just tell me if I'm accurate or not. Maybe Sabrina, is she still there? She's still there.
I'm here.
Yeah, you're just cutting in and out for like 2 to 3 seconds at a time, and we get half the story. It's all right. One of the things I wanted to point out that Sabrina and I have talked about before is that realizing that there's a specific way to do a TEDx talk, number one, but also, you know, she got challenged to cut a huge part of her talk out to make it work better on stage. And that wasn't exactly fun. I mean, Sabrina, I think when you're thinking you have this talk pulled together and you get told you have to take out 10 or 20%, it can be a little disconcerting. Do we have her there? Either way, my point was for Sabrina that it really challenged the way that she was expecting to give a talk. We've had other speakers like Tim DeTellis told me that it really challenged him because he speaks all the time. He goes to groups all the time and gives extemporaneous talks. And he realized that a TEDx talk is completely different. You're preparing with a coach who is going to walk you through memorizing your talk.
Well, I remember when I was told to take the time off, I was upset, but then it the moment, oh, work, fun, and talk microphone. But when you're on the stage, there are so that.
Am I the only one not getting her? None of us are getting it. Yeah, no. Sabrina, sorry. We're gonna have to stop that part. Just because we can't hear you. We're getting every third word. All right, other questions. I still see a couple hands raised, but I don't think those people really need to have their hand raised.
I have another question.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Diane.
Yeah. So my question is this. I know you mentioned topics that make I forget how you phrased it, but like have to be defended, right? So then my question is, and I don't know what my topic is yet, but I asked this because some things are swirling around in my head. What about any controversial topics? Are there guidelines? And I don't mean like offensive, but edgy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
can you give me an example? I mean,
yeah, well, I'll just give you one that kind of popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody steal this. But this is one that popped into my head. I don't know how controversial it is. I just say this because it might be. So it was something along the idea of what I've learned as an atheist living in the Bible Belt.
Why?
Because I feel like some people might be offended by that, but
can you defend it? I mean, can you?
Yeah. My talk wouldn't be offensive. It's actually good. It's actually good. There's like some good that comes of this, but
if I read that as a submission, I would be energized because it would be just the title alone makes me go, I want to know more about what this person is saying. I may not agree that what you write is actually going to be appropriate for the stage because you'd have to still find how it speaks to an audience that's
of course.
Okay.
Yes.
But not because the topic is wrong.
Right.
Now you also can't, so you cannot come onto a stage, and I was just highlighting it, but so look at that organizers thing. You can't have a religious ideology on the stage. You can't push a specific religion. So your talk can't be, here's why you shouldn't be a Christian.
Right.
It's problematic.
Of course.
Just like somebody can't have a why you shouldn't be an atheist. Like we wouldn't do either one of those. But that's a fantastic idea for a talk. And we'd want to hear why you're the right person to give that talk. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Somebody said to me today, and it's an idea she's working on our own. So it doesn't mean much, and I don't know how well it would go good in Florida. But she was like, I was just watching a series about a cooking competition, but they all had to cook with cannabis. Is that an interesting topic? Now in Florida, we don't have recreational marijuana, so maybe we don't want to do a demonstration. But
or maybe we do.
Stacey, you'll figure that out on your own. You have connections, I know.
I mean, I'm just saying.
So, yeah, I think actually that's an energizing talk, and you hit where it's a specific thing that is your experience. Not everyone can give that talk. That's impressive. Marcy, your hand's up still. Does that mean you have another question? No, it's okay. You're good. Don't worry. Listen, Zoom is fun. I'm not worried about it at all. Zoom is so confusing. You know how many times I've heard, Tim, you're on mute. Tim, you're on mute. Yeah, we're good. All right. I want to open up to any other questions that anyone might have, and I may not necessarily be able to see if you have a hand raised or anything else. But if you do not have your hand raised, I think I'll ask. Yes, Cece, go ahead.
I thought Cassie had her hand raised at one point. Or was her question answered?
I don't know. Maybe it was. Cassie, if you had a question, you should unmute and say it. If not, relax and just get ready for your TEDx talk in December.
Well, I just wanted to say hi, Tim, and my question was about the theme, so it was answered. So at least I got a chance to say hi, and good to see you again.
I love it. And other good news, I already shared Robin's good news. Cassie, I shared that you're giving a TEDx talk in, is it Dania Beach?
Yes.
In December. So congratulations. And Cece is launching her own TEDx conference, right, Cece? Is it TEDx
Dania Beach,
South Florida? Oh, that's yours.
Yeah, that's mine.
Oh, is it in a correctional facility, or is it? No, that's a totally a joke for Cece. Go watch her first talk. You'll understand why I said that.
Right. Inside, but no, it's TEDx Dania Beach.
Oh, so that one's yours. Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna need help, Tim. But yeah, I'm gonna need help.
If she reaches out and asks for anybody for some assistance, I know you're working on coaches and other stuff right now. So, all right, I'm going to close this up unless any of our organizers, Robin, you want to say something? Well, you have to unmute.
You see that Nick is on, right?
Yes.
Why doesn't Nick tell us some good things that are going on with him? Because he's got some really good things going on. Don't you, Nick? Nick?
Yeah, Nick, tell us what's going on with you.
A lot of cool things have happened since my TEDx talk. You know, my business has expanded. I am now a published author and giving a concert at Carnegie Hall in January, and am getting married this Friday. 2 books.
That's all from a TEDx talk. That's impressive, Nick. That's really congratulations. Well, listen.
A lot of it is. Joking aside, a lot of it is. And I appreciate the exposure. I thought as well, if I could point out, you know, my time as a Toastmaster and that kind of thing prepared me in a lot of ways. But there is nothing like that experience of preparing for the TEDx talk. That was transformative in how I approach public speaking. And it's given me a credibility, and especially with my message of having been formerly incarcerated, it gives me leverage with an audience that you all were willing to receive my message. And I think it's opened up doors because they thought, you know, if they were willing to hear him, maybe I should too. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for all you've done, Tim, and the rest of the team. It was a fantastic experience. And if I can help in any way, I'm more than used to.
Well, remember, once you've been a part of the TEDxEustis family, either as a speaker, a performer, a coach, a concierge, just an attendee, a spouse or partner who's had to listen to someone give a TEDx talk 2,847 times before, you are part of our family. And it's why we wanted to put on this event tonight, just to get some people together. We'll share this out by video so that people can see what we're planning. We know it's a long ramp, a long runway until we actually get to our event next January or February, but we want to make sure we have you on board and recognize that we need your help, that this is a collaborative event and you have people that you meet every day, or ideas that you see, or you're watching a Netflix series, or you see a YouTube channel, or your nephew says something to you and you go, oh, that would be a great TEDx talk. Well, hit us up. Even if it's not an idea you want to give, please share with us and say, hey, this would be an interesting one. Maybe you should find somebody who can give this talk. Or maybe you have the perfect talk within you and you want to show your uniqueness on our stage and you're willing to put in the hard work, because I promise you, at the end, when you are done and you are so excited to be finally finished, you will understand what a value it's been to spend that 5 to 6 month period, you know, putting in the work and learning how to give a talk word for word verbatim, and it will open up doors. I can't promise you professional doors, but it will open up so many conversations that you're going to have with people, and you can be part of, like Cece said, a thought leader, somebody who's in that conversation. And I think we all want to be heard. That's part of why we even interact with other people. So this is a chance for you to help other people do that and do it yourself. So thank you so much for being here. We got done in less than an hour. I wanted to make sure we do that. We're respectful of your time. We will chat with you again soon. And please share stuff with us. Check out our email address, go to our website, all of that. And we will see you all again later. Bye. Okay, I got to figure which button turns this off. Oh, there it is.